Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mark Prater podcast, where our aim is to connect our global family of Sovereign Grace churches with our executive director. Mark, yet again, as each year we talk about on the podcast for the last number of years we've been doing the pod, uh, you are on the verge of heading out to attend the annual executive committee retreat. This one's a little bit different, though, because this is actually the last executive committee retreat that you will attend in your role as the executive director, as we're working
Yeah.
through the transition to a new executive director. And so that has you thinking and reminiscing and reflecting um, on the last decade or so as the polity was introduced. And the executive committee came into existence and in your role and connecting with them. Uh, Talk about how you've been thinking concerning our history and the executive committee.
Yeah, thanks, man. It is the last one I will attend, and as executive director, and so I've been reflecting a bit, and in doing so, really thanking God for
Mm,
how He led us to establish our polity back in 2013.
right.
Actually, it was April 2013. We ratified this book of church order that called for an executive director and then also established really a governance structure that includes
Mm,
an executive committee. And in 2013, it looked pretty good on paper, but is this thing even going to work? That's what
right.
we
It's all
that's what we
theory.
sort of wondered. Yeah, we got to test drive this a little bit. So we obviously we've made tweaks to our BCO, but the
Mm,
the core of our governance structure, our polity structure, really hasn't changed.
hmm.
In other words, as we've used it, we've found that it does work. And just to remind, our pastors would know this, but members of our churches, just what is that governance structure? The highest governing authority in Sovereign Grace churches is the Council of Elders.
Right.
Council of Elders is one elder from every church that meets once a year. Unless a church has more than 500 members, they can have two Council of Elder delegates. And they do a number of governance related things as a council. But
Mm,
there's work that has to be done both from a leadership and governance standpoint. So when the polity was ratified, there were kind of two arms that come out from the Council of Elders. One is the governance work that needs to be done. That's the executive committee. So the executive committee represents the Council of Elders. The guys that serve on that committee are voted on by the Council of Elders to serve a 4-year term. They can be renominated. So we've had guys that have served on the executive committee probably from its beginning,
mm,
which has been a joy for them to work with. But we realized that we needed not just governance, we needed leadership so that we could
right.
all be moving forward together in mission. And that's where we have a leadership team, which has a delegated authority really from the Council of Elders and a mandate from the council to lead us in mission. So that's the basic structure of it all. And within that is the executive committee was formed to provide some basic things that are very important to our family of churches. First, oversight of the leadership team, an annual evaluation of the executive director and the
Mm,
leadership team, accountability essentially for the leadership team, and input for the leadership team. Those are kind of some of the basic things they do. Beyond that, they've got financial responsibility to make sure that our finances are managed with integrity. They approve the budget, for example. They have to monitor our governing documents like our bylaws, and they have a legal subcommittee that just keeps up to date on any legal kind of issues, and a number of other functions like that. So
right.
it's an important committee that has served me. I'm so grateful for it.
Mm,
Has served me for the last 13 years, and I know will serve John Payne, assuming that the Council of Elders votes him as our next executive director, will serve him as well. And so I'm very grateful as I
mm,
head to this retreat. I reflect. I'm thinking, Lord, we didn't really know what we were doing,
mm,
and you helped us establish this.
Mm.
And as we've implemented it, we see the Lord's goodness towards our family of
Yeah.
churches. And one expression of that is the work that is being done on this executive committee. So that's a little bit of some of my reflections as I head into
Mm.
next week. And when this pod drops on Monday, that will be the start of the executive committee retreat. So please pray for
Mm.
those men as we gather together.
You're right. God has been so faithful to us, and He has blessed us with excellent pastors who have served us so well over the last 13 years on that executive committee. So, last retreat for you in your role. It's an annual retreat,
Mhm.
and important work gets done there. So, what's the plan for next week at the retreat?
Yeah, we've got a full agenda, which we typically do. These guys, they work hard while they're there. So um, we've got they'll actually start the retreat by praying for sovereign grace.
Mm.
That's on the agenda and specific aspects of our gospel mission and ministry. And then the executive committee, the chair of the executive committee is Dave York, and so he kind of worked with myself and John Payne to send out some questions that executive committee members will come with answers to, just their input. So this is where the executive committee gives us input, for example. So
Mm.
three questions they're going to speak to next week. Number one, are you confident in the theological soundness of the leadership team and sovereign grace according to our statement of faith? Any input for the leadership team in this area? Number two,
Mm.
are we confident that sovereign grace is effectively advancing the mission of Christ as given us? Is there any input for how we can give to the leadership team about this area? And number three, do you believe the leadership team is leading in a way that cultivates trust, unity, humility, and healthy partnership throughout sovereign grace? Is there any areas that they could improve or
Mm.
strengthen? So that's really, it's going to be good to hear from them because that input will be helpful for us. That's one of their functions. And then I'm going to give a Sovereign Grace Churches update, which is really a denominational overview of all that's been happening in the plans that we have. And when I talk about those, there's a lot to celebrate where we see God being faithful to us, but I'm also speaking to areas of vulnerability or weakness where we need to grow. And that's a part of them. I put that all together because they oversee the leadership team, and I want them to be aware of that. And next, we'll talk about strategic initiatives, some new strategic initiatives that we're taking as a leadership team that I want them to be aware of. I'll give them an update on the executive director transition and the transition that's happening at some point not too far in the future at the Pastors College with Josh Blunt moving to Louisville. And then they ask me every year for a report of the departments. So I go
Mm-hmm.
through each department in Sovereign Grace, Sovereign Grace Music, the Pastors College, Finance and Administration, Church Planting, West Coast Development, Publishing, Church Development, in terms of caring for regional leaders. I just walk them through all of that. Again, they give input along the way. And then they'll spend time, a good amount of time just evaluating the leadership team. I'll
Mm.
walk them through that, and then they'll take time to evaluate me, which I leave the room for. They can take as long as they want, and then I come back in and hear any input that they have. And then the last day is really devoted to just just meticulously combing through the budget
Right.
and them asking all kinds of questions, making any tweaks they want to make. And according to the BCO, they approved the budget. In the fall Council of Elders meeting, it's the Council of Elders that affirms it. So those are some of the things that we have planned for next week. And again, please be praying.
Mm. You know, you're always getting a lot of work done at these retreats, but it's all very important work. And lest anyone who maybe isn't a pastor checking out the podcast hears about things like an executive committee or church polity and governing structures and perhaps are tempted to roll their eyes. And, unlike some of the pastors in Sovereign Grace, which apparently enjoy using the BCO every morning in their devotions,
Yeah,
uh,
right.
the real polity wonks among us. Uh, just share a little bit more. You talked a little bit at the beginning when we started recording about the importance of the executive committee, but share with us a little bit more about why is it so important to us?
Yeah, why do we have this? Why do
Yeah,
we even do this? Why did we ratify a polity back in 2013? And I think it really comes down to this. I think as I've thought about it, a healthy and active and engaged governance structure. The expression of that is the executive committee. What it does is it facilitates and strengthens and protects our denomination's ability to do gospel ministry and to
right.
do gospel mission. At the end of the day, all of this serves the gospel and
Mm,
our desire to advance the gospel together, and to do that in a way that brings integrity to that, which I believe the executive committee provides
right.
that for the leadership team. Ultimately, it leads to the glory of Christ.
Mm,
And so this is we can't miss that, because it can just be all about polity. And it's great. Polity is great. I thank God for polity. But
right.
if we don't see how it functions within the bigger aspect of our partnership, and how it strengthens gospel ministry being done and gospel mission being done in different parts of the world, we'll miss ultimately the purpose of this all. And my prayer is that even the effect of this retreat next week would lead to the strengthening of our gospel ministry and gospel mission,
Mm,
and most importantly, glory to the only one who's worthy,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. And as I think about that, it just makes me very grateful for the
Mm,
men who serve on this executive committee. There are 9 men that give their time; it's unpaid. Their time to be
yeah.
away from their families and their church, and really they take this responsibility very earnestly. And there have been different men over the years on the executive committee, and I just thank God for them. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being with these brothers when we're together next week, because I want them to know my gratitude, and I want
Mm,
them to hear that they're strengthening our commitment to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ for the glory of God alone.
mm. Wonderful. Well, if you're on the executive committee and you're checking out this podcast, we do thank God for you. And we're so grateful that God has supplied uh, just so many men over the years that have come on and off the committee that are gifted and godly and that have served us so well
Yeah.
and effectively for the glory of Christ, ultimately, like you were saying. So enjoy the last one, Mark.
Okay.
And let's be praying for all that God will do during this retreat. So thank you, Mark, for your thoughts. Thank you for checking out the podcast, everybody, and we'll see you here next week, Lord willing. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.